What's up, guys? My name is Formal and I'm here with a brand new video for you today. I'm going to be going over my Call of Duty and Halo success in depth, so I hope you guys enjoy that. Also, I'm going to be doing a Q&A video in next week, so if you guys want any questions answered, just leave them in the comments below, and I'm going to be taking them directly from there. First things first, guys, my MLG journey started off in 2009. I was a freshman in high school at the time, and I was still on the border of getting my parents to let me go to events. You know, they were kind of on the fence about, letting me go around the world to play video games professionally because they really didn't think it was a thing. So that was a whole nother ballgame in itself. But luckily, there was an event that came up that was in Anaheim, which is not too far from my hometown, which is in Orange County. So it was about a 20-minute drive. So they finally let me go to an event, and I was so hyped about this. I remember thinking at the end of this event, I had my fun. I finally got to go to an MLG event. That's what I was been playing for this whole time. And then I thought, that was it. That was the end. I was going to go back to school, and I finally got my taste of MLG. I didn't place too bad, so I was kind of happy about it. So I took a break for 2 years. During this break, I just played baseball. I just hung out with friends and just enjoyed high school. And then in 2011, Halo Reach came out, and that's where I went pro. Alright, now I'm sure you guys are wondering how exactly it was that I went from placing 29th in 2009 to placing 5th in 2011. This part of my life was kind of weird. I was kind of torn between if I wanted to do gaming or just, do the typical, go to high school and go to college and do all the stuff my parents wanted me to do. So I wasn't sure, if I wanted to even buy Halo Reach. So what ended up happening was I bought Halo Reach like a month later. I had no intentions of playing it competitively. One day I got on, and my friend hit me up that I used to play Halo 3 with. His name was Break, and he was looking for a fourth. Now, when Break told me that he was interested in making this team happen, at the time it was myself, Ryan Noob, Blaze, and Break. And these three players were all pros at the end of Halo 3, and I was still, this AM kid, and they didn't know what to expect, if they wanted to pick me up or not. But eventually, I convinced them to let me team with them, and we went to Dallas 2011 together. And they took the risk of, picking up an AM player who's only been to one event that was by his hometown, didn't know if I was going to, fly across the country and actually go to an event. But when they trusted me, it all worked out. We ended up playing through AM bracket and placing 5th place, which was kind of unheard of at the time. Not many teams played through AM and Halo and did really well. They would get cut off at like the top 16 range, but we did really well. I teamed with these guys for another 2 events. We got 5th and 5th again, and then I decided to look onto other options and other teams and try to better myself. So I ended up going into this team called Believe the Hype. At this point in my career, Believe the Hype was one of those names that I've been watching for the past 2-3 years, just really looking up to and seeing all these players grow from this team, and thinking, damn, that'd be cool to play for them, and damn, that logo's cool and all this stuff. So when the opportunity presented itself, I was a little starstruck at first. I wasn't sure whether or not I wanted to take the offer. The team was going to be myself, Ryan Noob, Blaze, and Maniac. And with these guys, we ended up getting some good placings under our belt. We ended up getting a top 6 and a top 3, and that was the first time I ever got top 3, so I was all excited about that. But even getting top 3, I was just more hungry for first. And that led me to my next team, which was Dynasty. And Dynasty was another name that's been, a household name in the MLG scene for a long time, and I was really interested in the offer because they kept placing really well throughout the season, and I kept placing, behind them, and I finally got the opportunity to take the position, which I did. And the team was myself, Destin, Tizoxic, and Hines, and these were a great group of guys. I loved these guys to death. They were like brothers to me at the time, and we had such good team chemistry. We went to MLG Orlando 2011, and that was when I won my first event. And this was an unexplainable feeling. If you guys are looking to, become a pro and you're thinking, maybe I want to quit or whatever you're thinking, just don't. If you win an event and you just keep trying and you keep trying and you finally get there and you get that chance to win one and you actually do, it makes all of that time and effort just you put in over the years just so worth it. All of it just pays off just like that, and you're just so excited and you're so filled with joy. I just remember I was pretty close to crying at the time, but I didn't because I was on camera. I didn't want to just But anyways, I stuck around with these guys for about 2 events, the one that we won, and then Nationals, which was in Providence, and we ended up getting 5th or something. We did pretty poorly, so we weren't too, hyped about that. Nationals was the one you wanted to win, and we won the one right before it, and, we came up short in Nationals, and it kind of killed our vibe as a team. So myself and Hines ended up looking for 2, and we found APG, and Cloud and became Ambush. This was one of my favorite teams. The Ambush name, that is. We ended up going to Columbus 2012 and Halo Reach when they came out with new settings. It was no bloom and no sprint, kind of like the feel of the old Halos. So we were all excited about that. We ended up getting third at that event, and that was just a crazy event. That whole event was just so awesome because we finally got to see the Halo community really come together and unite as one. Like, as weird as that sounds, like everyone kind of knew if we didn't show up to that event as a whole, as a community, that Halo would be off the circuit. Sadly, it did become, taken off the circuit, but it was still really cool at the time to see everyone kind of, put themselves out there and really show their support for the game. After Halo Reach kind of fell off, Halo 4 was being announced, and everyone was super excited about that, and everyone was like, yes, Halo's back, and we decided to stay under the Ambush name. It was myself, APG, Hines, and then we picked up Snipe Down in replace of Cloud for Halo 4. When we did this, we weren't too sure whether or not the team was going to work, having Snipe Down and myself, very similar players, playing the same team. Kind of like we have now on OG, players together. We weren't sure how me, Scump, and Krim were going to work together, but we're working really well. And we did really well with me and Snipe Down back at Dallas 2012. We ended up placing second at the event. We lost to this team called Warriors, but they cheated, long story short. But after that, MLG kind of, told Halo to just take a break. They didn't think that Halo was going to prosper anymore. They picked up Call of Duty as the main FPS, and Halo was kind of not sure what to do. No one really knew what they were going to play for anymore. And then this company called AGL, this Arena Gaming League, popped up pretty much out of nowhere and started saying, we're going to run tournaments and you guys can come and we'll give good payout. So we started to do that. We started to practice for these AGLs, and we went to, I believe, like 5 of them or something, and we ended up getting first in 4 out of 5, so that was really good. I got to win a bunch. Like, AGLs were pretty much the equivalent of like how UMGs are now, but a little smaller, like kind of maybe like a year ago UMG. And it was really cool to win that much, but it wasn't the same feeling as an MLG. When there were no more events to compete to in Halo, I decided to try my hand in COD. And this was a very tough decision for me because at the time I was just starting to go to community college. Long story short, I was going to do a whole gaming thing, and I decided to bail out of a college I wanted to go to community college and try to focus a lot on gaming while still doing, some schoolwork. But after a while, I decided, to take a semester off and just focus on gaming. So I decided to get a team, and we went to MLG Columbus 2013, which was the first ever Call of Duty Ghosts event. I ended up doing this with a couple of my Halo buddies. It was myself, Enable, Ace, and Snakebite, and we played through the amateur bracket. We weren't really sure what to expect because, we were just a group of Halo pros and no one really respected us. They were like, or not really respect, everyone kind of had a respect for us as Halo guys, but not necessarily as COD people, so we weren't taken too serious. We did okay though. We ended up beating teams like Just Us, who ended up placing third. We beat them in the amateur bracket. We beat VQ to make it out of the amateur bracket, which was like Dito and Fizzerp's team, and they ended up getting top 8. Unfortunately, we fell short. We lost to Unite, which was Killa's team, and we lost to Strictly Business in losers bracket. So we ended up getting like top 24 or something, but it was just, it was a fun event. It was really cool to compete in a different game that wasn't Halo. It was a new change of pace for us. We were all really excited about our placing only because we didn't do terrible. We did okay, and that was okay to us. After Columbus, I made the decision to leave my Halo team with Ace and Snakebite and Enable, and I decided to look for a group of COD pros or, good COD kids that would pick me up and, teach me and try to mold my raw talent with my gun skill or, reaction time and mold that into a good COD player. My first team that gave me a shot was Fear, and this team was myself, Dito, Moho, and Complex. And they gave me a shot, and we went to UMG Philly together. We did okay. We got like top 16 again. And it was still cool, to finally play with COD pros instead of Halo pros because I didn't really know, what they were like. I was kind of always around Halo guys for the past 3 years, and then going into COD players, it was just a whole different change of pace. But after that event, I was disappointed again, so I decided to look for another team. And this was the first time that a big org really gave me a shot, and at the time it was Team Caliber. And TK was Neslo, Goon, Sharp, and Theory, and they ended up dropping... oh no, they didn't drop anyone. Goonjar left to Envy, and needed a 4th, so I joined them, and then... oh wait, what happened? No, it was Clayster. Clayster was actually on the team, and then Clayster went to OG, so they had a spot open on TK, so I ended up joining, and they gave me my shot, and they really took a risk. You know, TK was placing top 2 for the past 2 events at the time. They got second at Philly, and they got second at Columbus, and they took a complete risk picking up an absolute amateur in the COD scene, no matter how good I was at Halo. And I was really thankful for this at the time, because those guys were, you know, extremely trustworthy. They were so cool to me, like being a complete amateur in the COD community. They were so cool to me and so nice to me, and they tried to teach me, you know, how to be a pro and how to act, and you know, how to play S&D, which was the hardest transition ever, was trying to play a game type like S&D, because there was nothing like that in Halo, nothing even close to that. So they taught me how to be good at that. They taught me how to be good at Dom, which was a completely new game type as well. You know, the Halo game types and Call of Duty game types were very different. You know, TDM in COD was Slayer in Halo, and the COD community doesn't have TDM as a competitive game type, whereas Halo has Slayer, and it's 2 of the 5 game types. So it was weird not playing Slayer anymore. It was all objective-based games, especially ones like Blitz, which was, I think, new to all of us. And they taught me, you know, all this stuff, and I was so appreciative of it. And we ended up going to regionals, COD Champs regionals, and we got top 3, which was, you know, I mean, everybody that got top 8 pretty much got the same placing. You know, there was no prize money. Everyone just wanted to qualify for Call of Duty Championships. But when we did that, it was still cool, you know, to play more pro teams on LAN and just build chemistry together. But unfortunately, at Call of Duty Championships, we ended up getting top 16. We lost to Envy in the first. No, we lost to OpTic Gaming in the first round of winners, and we lost to Envy in the losers bracket, and they both ended up getting top 3. You know, that was just kind of how stuff happened that event. You know, sometimes you can't control the outcome, and we lost, and that was it. But I was still super grateful that they even allowed me to be on their team for Call of Duty Championships, you know, such a prestigious event, only once a year. So I was super happy I got to play at that, my first year of Call of Duty, like, competing. But after that event, I ended up joining FaZe Black. This team originally was supposed to be myself, Proofy, Saints, and Sensor, but Proofy ended up leaving our team for OpTic Gaming, which was, you know, that was completely understandable. They had a spot open, and he took it. That was fine. But we ended up going with Dito. We picked up Dito in place of Proofy, and we played at Niagara and then at Anaheim, and we got top 6 at both. I was very disappointed in those placings, so I decided to, you know, see what else I can find, and I joined Envy. And Envy was, you know, they were just the coolest dudes. I love those guys to death. I got my first championship under my belt with them at Gfinity 3, and that event itself was just unexplainable because we all played so good as a team. We ended up getting first place, and I just remember being so happy because when we won and I stood up and I was like, okay, I'm the only one now. I'm the only Halo and Call of Duty champion. That made me so happy that I could finally achieve that. I stayed on Envy until the end of the MLG Season 3 playoffs in Columbus, and I decided to join OpTic Gaming. Now, being on OpTic, it's been a crazy ride. It's been a whole mix of emotions so far. I've gotten so much support and so much love in the past couple weeks that it's been kind of weird. You know, I wasn't expecting this type of support, but the green wall is freaking huge, and it's been awesome. We ended up going to MLG Columbus not too long ago, Thanksgiving weekend, and we got second place, and that was our first event as a team, so I'm not too mad about that. You know, at the time I was a little upset with getting second. You never like getting second, but hey, we still did really well as a team, and you know, I'm really looking forward to competing at more events with them. We've won, you know, numerous 5Ks and a 10K, and we've been doing really well recently, so I'm looking forward to the event in, I believe, a week and a half, which is going to be UMG Orlando, which is New Year's Day. Joining the green wall, I know you guys aren't too familiar with me as a person or as a player, but I hope this video gave you a better outlook on my professional experience in that, you know, player side of things. But I look forward to getting more personal with you guys in my upcoming videos. If you guys did like this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I love all the support you guys have been giving me. It's amazing. And don't forget about the Q&A. Leave your comment below if you guys have any questions for me, and in my next video, I'll be answering all of those. Much love, guys.